Hello. Welcome to the stream. This is going to be a relatively quick stream. That's not full screen, that's full screen. In which we discuss the little bit of emerging news around a potential Leeds United target, someone that we've been linked with all window long. Hello, West Leeds United channel. This is the sort of thing that I would usually just cover in a video and then I'd do a live on something a little bit different, but this time it feels like it's a sort of doing a live sitch. Plus, there's the fact that I kind of want to keep in the thing of doing live streams every day, and I did a community post yesterday about how I couldn't do both a video and a live because my washing machine pissed itself all over the floor, so I'm gonna have to get that one repaired, which is fun. But yeah, anyway, here we are. We've got some bad news in that a Leeds United target has said no to a move to the club after Leeds United have been linked with signing Emi Buendia all window long. Now, no one was under the assumption that we'd be signing Emi Buendia on a permanent basis at any point. It was more sort of wider discussion around Buendia, very, very good player, not getting minutes at his club, and there were some constant ongoing links about him potentially going out, him potentially coming to Leeds on loan, and conversations just continued and rolled and kept on happening. But now we seem to have a little bit more certainty around this discussion because Buendia has signed a new Aston Villa contract. This feels like a very, very certain sort of end to a lot of the conversations that have been happening as of late. As always, being a live stream, if you've got any questions, chuck them in the chat and I will happily just respond to them and we can bounce off each other and work out what the direction is from here on out. But this new contract goes until the summer of 2027, and it comes with the attached fact that this was reported by David Ornstein. Aston Villa are not planning to sanction a permanent exit at present, which is not good for Leeds because Leeds' ideal world here is Leeds United sign Emi Buendia, Leeds United get promoted, Leeds potentially sign Buendia on a permanent deal if things are going well during the rest of the promotion season. Didn't happen. So now instead of 12 months left on his deal, he's got 24, which removes a significant chunk of the financial pressure from the sale. So that makes things even harder for Leeds, which is always fun. And add on to that the fact that he said that he personally said that he didn't want to drop to the Championship. So if you add all of those things together, if you add the new contract and Aston Villa not wanting to sanction a permanent exit and the fact that he didn't want to drop to the Championship, you're getting into a situation where Leeds United signing him seems borderline impossible and absolutely nuts and wouldn't make sense for us, to be honest with you. Yeah, a bit of an annoying one, I think, because it's one of those links that's happened almost constantly, and it's one where the moment we saw him play in the Champions League in the past week, you basically said, this one isn't going to happen. He also throughout said that there wasn't anything linking him with the Championship. He didn't want to drop back down to that level, and a lot of people seem to push through and think, no, actually, we could do it because he's got the existing link to Farke, and it's his way of proving that he's still a very good player, and then it could build up his potential. But I didn't really buy into that at any sort of point. And there's only a couple of little questions that remain around the Buendia stuff right now, being that there's potentially the insertion of like a clause. So, for example, if Buendia wants to leave, I mean, extending it for sorry, I've just seen Black Badger's comment. Extending for 12 months is all well and good, but it could be to include something like a release clause. That wouldn't help us this season because we'd only be able to sign him on loan realistically, and it doesn't technically stop a loan exit. But there's more stuff that, in my opinion, just kills the idea of this being a permanent move or anything to us anyway, because when Aston Villa signed someone, everyone said, well, they'll have to let someone go. And everyone seemed to forget that Jaden Philogene, having been there for about 6 months, then left to Ipswich for somehow Aston Villa made a profit on that deal. I do not understand that. But Philogene left, which sort of covers the need for a departure. And the fact that his previous contract had him on £75,000 a week says to me that we wouldn't really be able to cover anything like a significant chunk of that wage. And he's increasingly present in the Aston Villa side, so it feels to me like Emi Buendia is one of those rumours that didn't feel super realistic. People kept persisting with, we kept getting evidence that said it wasn't happening, and now it's been confirmed to not happen. And I'm sure you're going to get some people saying things along the lines of, Leeds just need to invest money, etc., etc. But in these situations, that doesn't feel like that's sort of the relevant factor. The relevant factor is at the moment he played in the Champions League against AS Monaco in the middle of the week. I've got an interesting YouTube short coming out actually about a former AS Monaco player that I implore you all to watch because they're always good fun to edit and put together. But you've got a situation where a player that wasn't going to be coming, that people insisted was coming, isn't coming, and now people are going to act like that's a little bit of a crisis. Now, I'll admit, I have used that to my advantage in my thumbnailing and all that sort of stuff. But that was more of a sort of, it gets people through the door. It's how YouTube works. It's fun. You're going to have to deal with it. But yeah, I think let's have a little bit of a natter around it because I'm kind of very curious about where people's heads are at in terms of this stuff. We got Andy, for example, asking, can't we bite the bullet and invest in a better squad in the summer? Do you mean not invest now and just invest in the summer, or invest in both? Because I feel like we're going to do in the summer anyway, assuming we get promoted. But doing now and then, I guess, will sort of be the plan, but you don't want to sort of over-invest now because then if we don't go up, then you are PSR screwed, and whoever you signed will just want to leave anyway. And that's its own big problem, and it cycles, and Leeds United. Spooky. Would rather have a player who wants to come with the prospect of fitting our plans for the future. Yeah, this is sort of where I'm sitting, right? Because Buendia spent a lot of time on the bench at Aston Villa, which means that he's not going to be as match sharp and as currently good as what was the name of the guy? Like a Willem Goebbels, for example, who's fairly consistently been playing football, has been match sharp, has been scoring for St. Gallen, and would potentially fit in with the plans. I think that's like a long-term signing right now is probably a very good shout, but I don't know how exactly that's going to land. I don't understand how he prefers to sit on the bench at Villa and not experience promotion with our fans' lazy mentality. I don't know if it is a lazy mentality, though. Because if he really had a lazy mentality, then he'd still be pretending that he was dealing with his ACL issue rather than playing against Monaco in the Champions League. Like, he wouldn't be playing, well, on the bench. He wouldn't be selected for Aston Villa today if he was that lazy, because a manager will know if their player isn't asked in the slightest. The manager will be able to see it and go, actually, no, you know what, I don't know if I want to give you any minutes. Has a bit turned us down because we clearly made approaches and there was conversation, including, I think Graham Smith reported that Leeds had a solid interest. So there will have been conversations. So he's clearly made the choice to do contract rather than move. So in a way, turned down. Rumours on BBC Sport gossip is Buendia is wanted by Leverkusen. If that's true, got no chance. Yeah, he's also wanted, as reported by Ornstein, from Spanish and German clubs and Saudi Arabia. So we won't win on the money front. Even if we go, I know the Premier League has more cash than the German and Spanish leagues, but we ain't going to outbid the Saudis. And we ain't going to out-trophy Leverkusen right now. So, Brad, you are so desperately clinging on to this theory, my guy. It's not happening. And I know how badly you want it, but I'm sorry, it's just not. It's not going on. Last thing Leeds need is another attacking player. Leeds one goalkeeper away from surviving the Prem in next season. What? As a Sunderland fan, I'm impressed by Leeds squad. I think, as a Sunderland fan, what you're missing is we have two positions where we've not got that much depth. So, being a Sunderland fan, you've not looked throughout the bench and stuff. You've instead had a look and gone, oh, cool, Piru, Ramazani, James, Aronson. That's a really good front line. What you've not spotted is that behind Aronson, there's nobody. And behind Piru, there is Mateo Joseph, who isn't quite of the level. And behind Joseph, you've got Pat Bamford, who's consistently injured. And when he isn't injured, he takes a few games to get to of the level. So 9 and a 10 is sort of what we're screaming out for at the minute. Although, absolutely, we could do with a goalkeeper when we get promoted. That's without a doubt. But you could just do both, you know? If he's not sold on the idea, move on. We want players who want to be here. This is another pretty big bit. Yeah. A case of, if you don't want to be here and we are looking for a player that wants to be here now, we shouldn't spend our time begging you to come when it's not going to happen. Because it feels like that would be a waste of time, a waste of resources, a waste of negotiations, and we just end up back at square one. So I completely agree with you there. Almost 29 off an ACL. To me, good player, not great player now. We'll need great ones for promoted. I don't even know if we'll need great. I think we'll need good enough. That's it. Like, and I know it's such a sort of stupid way of phrasing it, but I don't think we need to overly stretch ourselves. I just think we need someone that is like, you will do a job at the bottom end of the Premier League. Perfect, good, brilliant. Here we go. And like, I feel like Buendia would probably be that, but if he doesn't want to be here, then that's sort of his own problem, you know? Brad, you are so desperate for this to happen. It's not. Why have I read that Gilavogi didn't work for Farke? Surely his role was to cover for Hampson Grove long-term injuries. Yeah, I'm very confused. I feel like the Gilavogi move did work for Daniel Farke, right? Because what it did was it made sure that if we had any further injuries during that stint, so to Tanaka or Rothwell, we had the Gilavogi to turn to. He just did sort of exactly what was meant to be done, I think. And the fact that they didn't get injuries was, in truth, a bit of a miracle. But Gilavogi was there just in case we needed him during that period of time, which is his job. You know, he did his job. And I would like him to stick around through the end of the season, just because I think he's a fantastic addition to the squad as a personality. But I don't think he'll get many minutes left for the rest of the season. Either way. Taking Patterson off your books in the summer unless you also go up pressure. I mean, imagine. That'd be great. I think his time will be considered up in the summer. I think for now, it'll do. It'll stick around. It will be too much effort for us to try and find a buyer in a January window that is already fairly like constricted. And at the moment, we already don't have much number 9 depth. So don't weaken that deliberately. But I think in summer, he's probably gone. I don't know where, but that feels like the case. I think it'll be his last season as well. I'm not sure. It said Monday's game is Nick and Tuck. Does he mean? I'm assuming he means Nip and Tuck, unless I have missed out on the invention of a term. Because Brad Little said, "You're not stone cold." You can't say, "And that's the bottom line," because Brad Little said so. I can't do a stone cold, but that's not how this is working here. Not at all. People need to remember the 49ers don't fuck about. Remember they let a player mess them about, pay for his own player. Yeah, absolutely. And there's no point going, okay, Buendia, if you're just going to sign a new contract after we've potentially entertained talks, let's call it there. Because you can learn a lot about a person from initially chatting to them, especially in sort of this businessy sense, especially in the sense of, we need to see if you are the right signing for us. So let's have that conversation. In those initial chats, you can learn whether they are about their career or themselves or the club that they are potentially going to. And sure, it makes sense for them to be about themselves. Whatever. Because a footballer's career is very, very short. But then how much do they pay attention to the club? That's a pretty big one. Because if they don't pay any attention to the club and they're sort of not asked about the club's prospects, then you end up in that sort of cyclical, spooky position of, okay, so you want to be here because of the money that we will give you, and that is a really bad place to be in for a club, I think. What about Salai or Cabal? We were interested in the summer. Salai, I do not know. I will have to have a look. A bit of me feels like he might have found a move, though. He did, yep. Roland Salai, after the window closed, went to that club in Turkey. So that's not happening. And I feel like Ilan Cabal is also looking distinctly unlikely. I'm going to see where his club are in the league at the minute, but they are currently third. There we go. Third place. They are also pushing for promotion. They have also been invested in by Red Bull. And whilst a lot of people made the link between, well, Gilavogi's linked to Paris FC, maybe Gilavogi goes to Paris FC because of the Red Bull link, that felt unlikely to me because they won't want to unbalance and mess with either of the sides that are pushing for promotion at the minute that they have investments in. And they don't have that much of a say anyway. But it would be a little bit stupid to say, okay, you are now going over there, you are now going over there, and then neither of the squads are particularly happy because they've lost a player. He's sort of a key player for them as well, and Gilavogi going over there will not balance that out. So it feels like that's not going to happen, basically. It would be a bad idea for them. Patterson's not good enough to take. Yeah, fair enough. Wouldn't mind Goebbels. Not going to drop from a UCL team to a championship team. If promoting might change, but they're not likely in this window. Yeah, I'm in the same sort of boat. I think it would be nice to be able to do something like that, but it doesn't feel super rational on his half, and so it feels like it would be a little bit forced on ours to sort of try and make that one happen. I don't see him dropping from you could be playing in the knockout stage of the Champions League to Championship, maybe? No, that's come on. Like, imagine his bonus if he is at Aston Villa and they are just progressing their way through the Champions League. That'd be incredible for them. I'd love it. Well, he'd love it, but yeah. Ryan, the players who you say not good enough, are they not good enough to just get Leeds through the rest of the season? It's not a case of they're not good enough, because looking at any individual player in our squad at the minute, you could slot them into their place in the system, and they would do a good enough job for us to outplay any team in the league, in my opinion, without a doubt. I don't see any other squads in this division that would be able to cause us those significant problems. However, it's those positions where if you get an injury or two, so if Brendan Aronson gets injured, the amount of pressing and running he does from that position is ridiculous. And you would need to slot Ramazani in there, but Ramazani's position is not as a number 10. Ramazani is traditionally more of a winger, which means that if you slot him in there, then he sort of doesn't know his position so much, will be hovering out a little bit too wide because that's what he's used to doing because he's a winger. And then you lose the shape. And the shape and structure is, I think, what makes us this good at this level. It's a combination of quality and everyone knowing what their cog in the machine is there to do. And if those cogs are told to do different things, then that can lead to confusion. Things fall apart, and I think it's just safer to get another number 10 in. In terms of player quality, I have zero problem with that. But our second choice 10 is, in theory, one of Ramazani and Joel Piroux. And Piroux is our first choice number 9 and would not do the pressing stuff as well. Which sucks, but I feel like Loan-to-Buy is the best choice. No one wants to come to be on the bench, and players that are willing to come may not be good enough for the Premier League. This is true, but if you loan to buy someone that isn't good enough for the Premier League, is that necessarily a good move? On that note, I've got a YouTube short that I'm going to drop the moment I end this live stream, which specifically discusses loan to buy stuff. Also, it's going to do an ad. I'm very, very sorry. I forgot to warn you in time. But you can just click it, swipe back, and it'll be all cushy. Who's calling not good enough? I don't take the opinions of our... What the fuck is YTCA? Found seriously, they're mostly delusional. Whatever. If Leeds have 21 squad players, then surely you'll be struggling to fill the bench at times. I think that's a good problem to have, though, right? If you've got too many players that are good, people are saying that, well, that's a little bit of a problem, isn't it? Because, you know, you're going to have to leave players out. That's a good thing. That is not bad. That is saying we have the quality so that we can just say, okay, are you okay just taking the week off? Because either we can rest players or we can just make sure that everyone's fit and healthy. But it all sort of adds up to a place where you land with wherever the end of this sentence was going. No. Where you land with the best possible 20 players, which is great. And this is assuming that we get no injuries at the same time. Like, having a big squad is not a bad thing. Having a big squad in the Championship and all of those players being good enough to take to the pitch is the difference maker. Because last season, when it came to it, we were pushing for promotion, and in matches where we desperately needed a goal, we were saying, Joffy? And that didn't work out. Isn't anyone fit enough? I think, yeah, this is one of my concerns, right? Because if you play Buendia, who is coming off an ACL issue, and therefore his running isn't going to be quite as good as an Aronson, then you've got him playing behind Piroux, who is also the less mobile of the options, and it gets a little bit confusing, gets a little bit spooky bad. And you get into a spot where you're relying on one of Piroux or Buendia to do the pressing, or you tell James and Solomon, you've got to do the pressing for 4 people here. And that doesn't work, and that is how you get those players injured, because you've overworked them. I would like us to put in a bid for Arabi to tempt them to come to Leeds before they want to let him go. How do you mean before they want to let him go? Who's Arabi? How have I forgotten who Arabi is? I don't know. I cover so many players that it gives me a headache sometimes. So I will have a Google at some point. Lat is not happening. Lat is going to MLS. I'm absolutely certain about this. The amount of folks that are like, let's just sign Lat. He's going to MLS for $20 million. One, you can get better players for $20 million. Two, we're not spending $20 million. Kaput. Just end of. Latilla is not going to be the signing that gets us across the line because he's not going to stay in England. Been saying this for a while now. No one's coming here to be on the bench. No one we get be starting. I think we probably get someone to actually compete for that starting slot, and I think that's a good thing because we're going to have to make it clear that like we have so many very good players at the minute, and we have a relatively settled group that are going to be starting in any given position. So any player that comes in, you've got to back yourself. You need to be in a position where you are actively fighting Brendan Aronson for that starting berth, because if you're not, we don't necessarily want you here, because you need to be someone that pushes your way into the side. And if you can't push your way into the side, then you're not good enough. If you can't break your way into a promotion level championship team, you're certainly not going to break your way into a lower end Premier League team. And that's what we need someone to be able to do next season. Oh, he's at Hammarby. Right, okay, that guy. If we were to sign him, he'd probably want to be loaned back for the remainder of the season. Problem is, can he come back before ours ends? I don't believe so. What's the rules on Man City shelling at 150 million in a heartbeat in a transfer window? That kind of depends on how many players they've sold recently, what the revenues are, sponsorship things. Odds are they're going to do it. Well, I say odds are they'll do it within PSR. A little bit of me thinks they're trying to get as many decent players in through the door before they are battered with various penalties in March, because March is what I've been hearing about when things are going to be happening. But yeah, I mean, the rules are they should, in theory, be limited by their revenue. I don't know what their revenue is. I don't give that much of a shit about Manchester City. But at the same time, it varies a bit. Isn't Buendia going to Germany? I don't know, but he signed a new contract with Villa, and that makes me feel like he's probably staying at Villa until the end of the season, and things will be worked out in the summer. Carvalho, isn't he at Brentford and actually getting some football now? Let's have a look. He's at Brentford. And to be fair, he's not played since the start of the window. But I feel like if we sign Carvalho, I don't know if he's going to look for a move to the Championship. He might be a case of going back to the Bundesliga or something like that. He did spend time with Leipzig. He'd probably spend a little bit of time at a club elsewhere, like a different top division, just so he's got top tier experience, and then he can go back and go, look, cool, here we go. I'm going to prove myself. Who do you think from the Championship is joining Leeds in the Prem? This is a really, really good question. And I don't know the answer, to be honest with you. I'm going to have a quick look at the Championship standings. I feel comfortable enough to say that we go up. And I really can't decide from the other clubs. Because Burnley, I think at some point this defensive form has to end. Like, you can't keep goalkeeping that well for an entire season. It just mathematically will not happen. Maybe Sheffield United, but I really don't want to say it. What I want is Leeds, Sunderland, and then like a Borough or something like that. Because then again, if Burnley go up, can you imagine what like their previously really good defense gets done to it in the Premier League? That'd be incredible. I'd love it, but I don't know. Strike due to engage in action on Monday. That's playing. I think he's on the bench. I don't think he starts purely because it'd be very, very early to get Stroke back in the first 11. And I think Daniel Farke knows better than that. He's specifically been mentioning, like, we know what Stroke's injury history is like. We don't want to take any risks. Yeah, it's Ryan Kent. Yeah, that's the signing. The one that's been released on a free from a Turkish club is who we need right now. But Farke doesn't change a lot or give enough chances. I think he gives plenty of chances. They're just chances off the bench. You don't want to, like, Borough too far behind. I'm not saying automatically. I'm saying in the playoffs, Borough. Farke doesn't change a lot or give enough chances. I think he does. That's the thing. But the chances are off the bench. They're not in the starting 11, purely because if you give someone an opportunity in the starting 11 and then everything goes wrong, then you've dropped points for no reason, which is silly to me. Whereas if you're playing things a little bit more sensibly, you say, okay, have a go in this match, and then you see how it goes. And you do give the example of Isaac Schmidt, but at the same time, do you really want to drop Byram when he's playing really well? Do you want to drop Bogle when he's playing really well? How about dropping Firpo, who is one of the best chance creators from fullback in the league? It's a really hard argument to make, I think. And you give the example of Anthony and Charlie Cresswell. Looking at Charlie Cresswell, the game that he started in the league, we lost 1-0 to Birmingham. And in terms of when he played in the EFL Cup, the other starts he had were against Shrewsbury. Was it Shrewsbury? Yeah, we beat Shrewsbury. And then when we lost to Salford. So he gave the opportunities in the Cup and they weren't good enough. So it's a bit of a tough conversation to be having. If we went up, we beat Derby, soon to be Southampton's record points. That's the thing. I think Lebris, is it Lebris or Lebris? I don't know. I think good old Reggie will potentially have enough pull to get decent signings through the door, and I don't think you'd be in that much trouble. But it's an interesting one. 3 that go up are automatic favourites to go down the next season. They absolutely are, yeah. But kind of depends on who stays up in the Premier League. So, for example, let's have a look at the table at the minute. What the fuck? Why are Spurs losing to Leicester? I really like Lox's misery. But if Leicester stay up this season, I get the feeling they're probably on the way back down. Which I wouldn't be surprised by, to be honest. I don't think that Leicester would be significantly improved next season because they'd still have the weird financial bits. So mostly true, but can you see an Ipswich that stay up this season being favourites to stay up next? I don't think that's going to be the case. They are also good at bringing in players from the continent. Yeah, nobody would have thought of Laji Ramazani from the fan base until we signed him, and now all we can think about is Laji Ramazani. If you haven't yet, by the way, I'd hugely appreciate popping a like on the stream, just because it helps things to sort of keep on rolling, and it really, really helps the channel out. Also, you could be a channel member. It's great. 99p for a month, and it means that I can do things like fix my broken washing machine. The absolute bastard. He'll be used. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if he was. I think we did the thing where we see a Leeds player and we go, "Oh my god, he's really, really good," and he comes from our academy, and we kind of forgot that academy players aren't always going to be the best. I don't know. Leeds need to stop chasing one target for weeks on end. It never happens in the end. I don't think we have been chasing one target for weeks on end, to be clear. I think what's been happening is we've been in a position where we're just sort of having conversations all over the place, because there won't just be one target. That would be daft. I think it's going to be, and this is going to be a bad example. I'm not using this as an example of competence. I'm using this as an example of method. It'll be like the case with the Gakpo thing, where we said, we're signing Cody Gakpo. What happens after that? We don't sign Gakpo, but really quickly we've got Bamba Dieng lined up. So that says there were at least 2 conversations going on. Then really quickly after that, we've got Willy Gnonto lined up, which says there's at least 3 conversations going on. So for me, that says that there is more than one target. It's just they're really good at not having the targets leak. And anything that does leak has likely come out on the agent side or on the other club side. Birmingham wasn't Cresswell's fault. Look at that starting 11 and come back to me. Yeah, I know. It was a crap starting 11, but at the same time, Birmingham got relegated. So I don't think at what point throughout last season, so when we were having that really good run in January, February, March, would you have given Cresswell minutes? Would you have disturbed that really good back line in the starting 11? No. I would have kept it pretty damn solid. I just think rotating for the sake of, you got to give the young people a chance is a mistake, because you're compromising quality for charity minutes, and that's a bad idea at this level. I know that step in the Premier League must play a brand of football the Premier League has never seen before. What does that mean? That's why Bielsa finished ninth, but the league has seen Farke ball all too often. It's been a struggle. I don't know. It kind of varies because like we'll also play a bit different to the way that Norwich did because we'll actually have some investment. It's tough. Ow. I've got a little bit of lip skin that's gone a little bit funny. It's weird. Recruitment team know what they're doing. They do. However, you don't because you keep being certain that Buendia is coming. It's not. I also hope we get a player in quickly. But like you say that like he tweeted us coming, then the deal was hijacked. Sure. Again, I'm saying it's not about competence. But we were very clearly having those conversations, weren't we? Like there were very clearly those discussions going on. And as much as like it did end up with us signing someone, it was the wrong someone. But the fact is, the methodology was there to go from target 1 to target 2 to target 3 within like 24 hours, which was great. We gave Forshaw charity minutes instead of signing. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, you can't just hand out minutes to players because it might because they might be good. No. And on this note, that's what loans are for. And like, sure, you can do that in a different situation. So look at, let's have an example. Fulham, for example, currently 10th in the Premier League. Currently 17 points clear of the relegation zone. They're not going down. Currently 7 points away from Europe. They're not getting into Europe. So you can start introducing the odd young player here and there, and that's how they improve. But we're not in a position to do that. We're in a position where we'll win a game 2-0 and fans will still go, should have won that 4 or 5-0. Sure. Okay, so you introduce one new centre-back to that, it's 2-1. Everyone loses their head because why have we conceded to those? You know, it cycles and it cycles. And yeah, I'd love to be able to give younger players more minutes. That's not where we are. We are not in a position where we are feasibly able to say, do you just want a game? Because that means dropping a quite important player and disrupting a system and potentially losing matches. And if you genuinely think, Sean, that we're in a position where if we were to lose a match because we played Sam Chambers on the wing and James DeBio at centre-back, if you think in that situation you wouldn't have completely lost your head, then you are lying to yourself and you are lying to everyone in this chat. You would not be a fan of that. In the slightest. My mate's Dr. Depot on Newsnow's doorstep. They stuck a plug in it and said it could or may sign for someone. I know. The could and may is my favourite thing. But this was at least like an actual source from like Ornstein, so it's fine. We'll defending more and more in the Premier League. Be looking to win about 5. We'll win more than about 5. Everton are on 5, and Everton is shit. So I think we'll be okay. Reckon we're capable of beating anyone in the bottom half of the Prem with the team we have now. Yeah, we've got more quality than we give ourselves credit for. We will need reinforcements, without a doubt. But on our day, we'll beat sides. Like, I was having a chat with a Man United supporting co-worker of mine, and basically said, you know, I genuinely think we could beat you this season, right? And his response was, yeah, probably could. So we're clearly not in that bad of a situation at the minute. Please didn't play it last season. Would there be more rotation this season? I don't know. To be honest, it's really hard to say because we don't know what the squad would look like. I still don't reckon we'd have Charlie Cresswell here because I don't think he would have been good enough to break into this current side, never mind the current side, if we'd been able to do Premier League upgrades to it. But this is it, right? If we're already promoted or borderline promoted with like a few games to go, then you can give the youngsters a shot. But until then, don't take the stupid risks. Because the stupid risks are bad. And this is what I'm saying, right? That's not my job. I'm not the recruitment guy. I wouldn't have found Laji Ramazani. I wouldn't have been able to find... Who else did we sign last summer? I wouldn't have thought we would have been able to sign Manor Solomon. I wouldn't have thought, Isaac Schmidt. I wouldn't have looked at the Ajax youth side and gone, Pascal Strauch's good. Or the same for Somerville at Feyenoord. But that's the thing. I ain't got that eye for talent. Maybe Lockie can tell you. I can't. But simultaneously, you've got to consider there's a way of looking at it that isn't you get charity minutes by starting. It's by you come off the bench and you impress. So the reason that people are now clamouring for a Ramazani start is because he's done well off the bench. But at the same time, so have Solomon and James. If Solomon and James don't get a goal and assist each in that last match, then you're probably going to see Ramazani. But he's got to try and force his way in, so it's tough. It's very, very difficult. And this is it. Like, right now, you're not going to want to see a Chambers and Debayo start. Unless, Sean, you want to say right now that you would start Sam Chambers and James Debayo in a match against Burnley away from home, for example. Because that would be daft. And I know you're not daft. But it's the Championship. Anyone can beat anyone, and you don't need to take any risks with that. In the slightest. Not for me. Not even a little bit. Yeah, if we hadn't blown it last year, we would almost definitely still have Archie, because he would want to play for Leeds in the Premier League. Still have Rotter, because we held on to him into like a League Cup match. So he definitely sticks around. And Somerville I'm less certain on, but I think we would be in the Premier League roughly equivalent to a West Ham. So that'd be daft. I think we've got more than about 4 that would make it in the Premier League. I think currently our wingers are like, we've got a Premier League standard set of wingers if we're able to keep Solomon. Tanaka is very good. We keep forgetting this. Bogle, I think, could do a reasonable job in a system that works, but it's very, very clear that said system didn't work when he was at Sheffield United. But it's tough. No, we can't have a poll on if Sean Healy is daft, but we can note that Sean Healy has not answered the question, which is very interesting. Makes you think, doesn't it? Look at Archie when Spurs go down. Imagine, though, like, I don't see them being that bad, but God, it's not good. Don't complain about us not signing anyone when we have enough to get us up, then get players next season. We have a chance of getting these players. I'm not complaining. I said in like a couple of streams ago, like, I'm very happy with the fact that we're looking at players that will be good enough for us, rather than let's just get a number. Let's just get someone. We need 3 players. Oh God, you. No, we're not doing that. We're saying, okay, are you actually good enough? Nice, we'll sign you. Are you good enough? No, we'll save the wage budget. That's what I'm happy with. And I would like a couple of players, but I do also see that if we don't get them, it's going to be okay. Because as many, many people have tried to remind me, many people who want Daniel Farke sacked, we've got a squad that's decent enough to get us promoted. The thing is now, get promoted. I feel like that comes in the summer. I feel like that's not a conversation for right now. Surely not banking not to... Right, okay. At the moment, you would call him a 4th choice winger, right? If you're saying, if you look through all of the wingers in the Premier League and all of the clubs in the Premier League, and you look at their 4th choice winger, if you want to tell me that Willie Gnonto is not as good as at least some of them, then I'm confused. Let's have a look. Let's check out Everton, shall we? And see who from Everton plays on the wings. So Jack Harrison is one of their 1st choice wide players. I had to call Gnonto not too far off Harrison. Let's have a look. Is Jesper Lindstrom a winger? I think so. I don't know. I don't even know if they have 4 wingers. But if you look through various clubs and you think, you know, he wouldn't fit in there, he would. He absolutely would. To say he wouldn't fit in as like a rotation option in the Premier League is nuts. Sorry, I missed the start of your stream. I'm with you about keeping the money till next year. Yeah, it's not a we need to sign someone. Oh no, it's a I wasn't too bothered about Buendia anyway, but here's the update. Because that's what I like to do. I like to give the updates when I know the updates, and I like being helpful. In addition to that, I'm going to end the stream relatively shortly. Me and our team now, there's Pascal Ramazani to let's start in the Premier League for me. Not Solomon, assuming we keep him. James? A little bit harsh to Ampadu. I think you probably keep Rodon in there as well. Because you've got to keep in mind, we are not going to be a top 6 side immediately. You're looking for players that are the same standard as Koch and Llorente in the first season after we went up, and that is not a high standard. I forget the problem. The mission is the first season is consolidate our position somewhere mid-table, not glamorous but important. I don't even think it's that. I think it's just survive. That's the most important thing that you can do immediately after you go up. That's what counts. Don't get relegated again, and then you can start to build, and that's what counts. Be a missed opportunity if we don't win tomorrow. I agree it'll be a missed opportunity, but it's not an opportunity that you can be super mad at. Don't want another Coco Llorente. No, I'm not saying specifically that player, but like in the first season, they weren't bad. We came 9th and didn't invest. Are you sure we didn't invest? I was going to close, but now I need to bring up some numbers because that is a clown take, I think. Got a Leeds. Let's Bosch. Cool. Transfers, all transfers. We're at the top beyond the halfway point with Farke and Melier. I think we just keep it going. Yeah, first season we came up, we signed Rodrigo with 30 million. Technically Augustin. I'll get into that in the YouTube short that I'm releasing. Llorente, 20 million euros. Rafinha, 18 million euros. Costa we signed. I know, big investment, shit player. 17 million euros. Koch, 13. Melier, 6.5. Gelhardt, 1. The next season, James, Firpo, Harrison permanently. That's a lot of players. We invested big. It was the late era where even then we invested because we signed Rutter, Aronson, Sinistera, Adams, Christensen, Voba, Rocker, JB, Nonto, and we were going to commit to signing Weston McKennie for 35 million euros. Insane. But we didn't because we didn't stay up. But that's a mental sum of money. And the fact of the matter is, that sum of money didn't go anywhere because we invested wrong. So I think we invest, but more in good places right now. Need a 9 to convert our limited chances. I think we'll get a 9. We have the creativity, but relying on our wingers to also score those chances won't cut in the Premier League. This is fair, yeah. I think we sign a Premier League standard 9 in the summer, but I don't know. Doesn't have the money to upgrade players. So hand over to the 49ers earlier. Nutter. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream there because I need to go around to the in-laws for a roast dinner. It's going to be very nice. If you're just joining the stream now, hop back to the start. It'll be very, very nice. Like the stream if you've not yet. That's always fantastic. Subscribe if you're not yet. You can even become a channel member. And I'll be releasing a YouTube short in about a minute. So go and watch that. It's a fact that you already know. But I think if I can get it beyond the Leeds sphere, it'll help with things. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you later. Toodaloo.